All right, we're back after our first intro of prioritizing everything for Build Week 2023. I like that this has become a bit of an annual tradition where we get to book a week of your time to work on KMIKM enhancements.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I put together a kind of a presentation, so hopefully we won't have to like leave and load anything up live with a bunch of screenshots and stuff in here. And basically figured we would start out just kind of talking about how we chose what we chose to work on. So we use this website called ChangeMap, and throughout the years, we just basically flood any ideas into this public-facing roadmap. So anyone can get on here and add a suggestion, and then it kind of goes through these flows of suggestions. If I like it, I bump it up. Or if it doesn't make sense, it'll go into rejected. And then we kind of, through this process, figured out which of these were the most, I don't know, it's kind of a balance of feasible plus useful. And so some things that are maybe not that useful were very feasible. And so we were just able to do them very quickly. Some things
Yeah.
we didn't
And
quite get.
also on the useful front, I think we were also trying to prioritize things that were going to have the most impact, like the most effect,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Sometimes some of that impact is behind the scenes. We'll go through some of the admin changes we made that users will never see, but will hopefully help things speed up. But yeah, we
Yeah.
tried to, we got a lot done, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I don't think I shared the URL for this, but basically, if you have any ideas, you can email them to me. You can hit us up in Slack, or you can go directly to the change map. I think Aaron's maybe adding it to the URL. It's the simplest thing. You just add whatever information you want. We'll figure out the rest. We'll bug you if it doesn't make sense. But basically, stacking these up throughout the year, even as we were working on this, we were adding new ones to the back of the queue. So,
Yeah.
without further ado, let's get into demo. I kind of created these buckets to go through just so we're not going through each individual change because there's a lot of small stuff in there. But yeah, so it's we'll go through kind of the front page improvements, which you'll see if you go to kmikm.com. We added some new ways to buy some shares. There's some new alerts and notifications. We had a bunch more planned that we didn't quite get to, but the ones that we got, I think, are kind of the most essential ones. A bunch of maintenance updates, which I don't think we'll go into too much detail on just because it doesn't impact most people. So admin changes my workflow on the back end a little bit. And then kind of something we didn't quite get to, but we're going to be able to experiment with is this new policy votes idea. So I'll save that for the end. All right, so let's jump into front page improvements. The most ridiculous of which is the Fred widget, which is something I don't even remember when I added it to ChangeMap, but I came across that the Federal Reserve offers this widget that you can put anywhere that just has kind of their recent updates and reports. And what's nice about it, as much as it just kind of adds a sort of like economic flavor to the KMIKM website, is it also helps extend that sidebar with the news updates. And so that ends up being really helpful just because I think before it was like 4 of those and it would just, you wouldn't get a good sense of all of the different changes that were going on. And then I think the most impactful change we made was that editable main image with the link. So I can change that at any time. In fact, I should have changed it for this. I could have said, had it going live and then a link directly to this feed.
I think that's a really cool idea.
I'm not in that habit yet, so I got to get used to that.
Yeah. I think it's a cool idea to be able to just totally change whatever's on the front page and just make whatever call to action you want. And it's totally like you do it all now. You don't have to bother me to change any of the graphics at all. It's just nice little interface, upload a graphic, it crops it to the right size, put in a URL, and you're good.
And I think often it will probably correspond to what's at the top of that news list, but it can also highlight anything else that's going on.
I have to go let my cat in here. She's complaining.
No problem. Georgie was just barking, but I think that's just because Catherine's coming home. So that's it for the front page changes. one of the things we didn't get to was the sort of making things a little bit more mobile friendly, but we decided kind of consciously to postpone that till later because that's a pretty big fundamental change. Yeah, let's move on to new ways to buy shares. This is exciting.
This is so exciting.
So
and we didn't start out with this goal for
no, I feel like we actually pulled some from further back and from the suggestions. We kind of accidentally enabled a lot of this as we went through. So
yeah.
You might remember, so like when the site first started, I was really designing it kind of based off my TD Ameritrade account that I had at the time, which was you open an account, you deposit your funds, and then you trade. Obviously, a lot of that like workflow has changed in the years since I don't even think I have a TD Ameritrade account. Like Robinhood has made it basically a video game now to trade stocks, for better or probably worse. But we've been kind of stuck in this older way. And so one of the things that we can do now is you can directly buy shares. And there's the first function of that is if you go to the buy page now, there's actually a button to deposit or to just buy. And what that'll do is, let's say you put in $20, it's going to take that $20 and just immediately put it into your account and try to buy $20 worth of shares at the best possible price.
And this was something that I remember has been on the list for a while, and my cat is now joining us. I always felt like it was going to be a pretty huge difference in terms of like requiring a lot of structural changes to make this happen. And I think what I realized was that because so obviously this is not a public part of the site, but there's an admin page that shows you the list of deposits people have made, right? And not only does it do that, but it actually deposits the funds in their account if it can match a Gumroad purchase to a KMikeM account. So I added several years ago. I don't even remember when. Actually, I think I first added it when Dwolla deposits were happening, right? And it was that was the first part of this automation of let's make it easier for people to put money in so that they don't have to keep emailing you all the time of being like, hey, here, I just sent you 20 on PayPal, please add 20 to my account, right?
Right, because the very first version was manual. They would deposit, they would contact me, then I would move it into their account. It's a very slow process. This was like a stopgap with like, as long as those emails matched, the deposit would go automatically.
Yeah, and then I realized that actually there's not a lot of difference between depositing the funds and immediately also making purchases, because everything else was already set up to it finds a matching account, it puts the money in their account. I realized actually all it would take is just writing a little bit of the code to go and accept the top offers. And I think one of the things that enabled this was also the fact that we've changed to top book trading and being able to split offers, which was not true when we first added this automation. And it wouldn't make sense. Like, there's no definition of best offer when you're looking at just clumps of offers, because an offer of 20 shares at $2 versus one share at $5, which one's better? Well, it depends, right?
Yeah.
But now there is a very clear best offer, and you can buy just one share, even if someone's put up 20 of those. So it was a very small path to connect the dots now of, oh, you put in $20 into your Gumroad purchase, we put $20 into your account, now you can just buy as many shares until you run out of money to buy the next share.
And then the sort of like magical next step of that is this other screen, which is for new users. And so this was just one extra feature of, if the email doesn't match a current account, go ahead and create an account and let them buy shares. So this KMikeM.com/buy is not linked anywhere, but it's something I can share with new people, or anyone can share with new people, and they're able to purchase, not even have to set, and it will set up the account and buy the shares all right away for them, which is amazing.
Yeah, that one, I think that was definitely not planned. And the thing that made that possible was actually one that you haven't talked about yet, which was welcome email. So
right.
up until this week, the only email that was ever sent from the system was a password reset email, and that wasn't even in the original version of the site. That was something added a couple of years ago, right? Probably many years ago, actually. But that was the only email that ever came out of the website was password reset. And you wanted to add a welcome email, which was like when they sign up for an account, it sends them some info about like, here's some things you should do next, right? And once I did that, because I did that one first, once I did that, by the time I got to this, the auto purchase, then I was like, wait a second. Well, if I don't find a matching account, can't we just make an account? And if I do that, it'll then also already send the email to them of like, here's your account and here's all the info.
Right.
And it sends a password reset. I changed the wording of the password reset so it says like create your password instead of reset your password.
Oh,
so
nice. Yep.
As soon as you make a Gumroad purchase, you get the welcome email. You get a link that says, "Here, go set up your account so you can log back in and trade," and you've purchased shares, and it's all just one button now.
So a great way to test this is everyone should get their parents to go buy shares.
Yeah, there we go.
And then kind of within this theme of talking about different ways to buy shares, the next thing we did is experimenting with this idea of dollar cost averaging. So right now this is only available, I'll probably write a blog post about this, but right now it's only available on the Gumroad site. But you can actually sign up for a subscription for any amount of money per month, and it will follow that same workflow we just talked about. So every month you'll just buy shares at the best possible offer. And this is really useful because as we were like working through this, Aaron was like looking at the site and he's like, oh, if I wanted to spend a bunch of money on shares, those offers, like they go up pretty fast, the best offers. Like there's a lot of competitive offers right around the same price. And then shares get really expensive because people have put in bids, very hopeful bids to sell you some shares at very high prices. So if you want to buy in volume, it gets really expensive. This is a way where you can kind of break that up over time and just always kind of like get that best amount once per month.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one too.
Yep, and we already have one person who's experimenting with their dollar cost averaging, which is super exciting.
Yeah. And what was interesting about this one is that once the other parts of the system changes were in place, this basically was no new code. Because once a Gumroad purchase can trigger the purchase of shares, the fact that this happens repeatedly is nothing new. Like Gumroad just does a charge, the money, the ping gets sent over to the website saying this person put in, made a purchase of $20, and all the existing code just runs. So yeah.
Last thing I want to mention that I don't think I made a slide for, but you'll notice in the fine print of all of these purchases now that we are subtracting the Gumroad and the processing fees from deposits or purchases. So when you Gumroad takes a 10% fee, and then there's a bit of a processing charge on top of that for the credit card. So those will no longer be sort of, I'm not going to eat those fees anymore. That was Aaron and Austin and some of the other shareholders were yelling at me for that, and we've decided to not lose money on it.
And it was, I think, February 1st, the Gumroad increase went into effect. They bumped everything up to 10%.
Yep, they used to have variable pricing depending on how much you sold in a year and things like that. And I think they just went to a flat fee, and a lot of people are pretty grumpy about it. But what's nice is this dollar cost averaging does come out of their support of a subscription model. So like on the back end, it just works like a subscription, but for our purposes, it works like dollar cost averaging, which is great. Okay, let's look at some of the new alerts and notifications we set up. One of which we already talked about is that new welcome email. But I think the one that's gonna sort of like save people the most hassle and hopefully prevent those kind of insane dips that sometimes happen in the market, are flash crashes, is the new offer alerts. So if you make an offer that is worse than the current, offer on the other side, like you're making a buy offer and there's a good sell offer or vice versa, you're going to get a warning that you can just accept that instead. And so hopefully
it's kind of confusing
Yeah.
And I don't blame people for making that mistake, because it is kind of confusing to figure out when you're looking at this for the first time of like, which column do I put my offer into? What am I like? What number should I put there? So this just pops up if you it doesn't stop you from doing it, but it tells you that maybe you could get a share cheaper than what you're about to make an offer for. You could just get a cheaper share right now. So
Yep.
hopefully it stops those mistakes from happening.
And then, yeah, the new welcome email we already talked about. It's super simple, has basic information. I can also edit it, which is nice. So I can make changes as things as policies, or if people have a lot of questions about it. And then the other thing that we added, just as like an admin feature, is an update for new accounts and deposits. So usually I would see those in email, make sure everything was working, double check it on the back end. Now I just get there's an admin Slack channel that's private that I see, and I can just see what's going on. And we made that private because deposits shouldn't be made public information to traders. I think is sort of part of the idea there, is that like,
and it also includes their email address too.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, because I need to be able to check that stuff. So yeah. And then going into the maintenance updates and admin changes, but kind of starting out here with a funny thing that you noticed, which was this page of commits going back to 2008, which I thought was very funny.
I don't remember which page this was, but this is one file, and it shows like when every line was touched. So you can see that in this one file, it's been touched in 2008 and 2013, and now again, because I was changing something in 2023.
And then I found at the same time as I was going through my time hop, this is a screenshot that I took of when I hired Greg Bornstein in September 21st, 2007 to work on the original, to build out the original site. So took him about a year, I guess, to get that launched from when we first signed it. Yeah, so I thought that was fun. But getting into some of these new fun features. There's a new leaderboard. I meant to grab a screenshot of this and I didn't, but if you go to the leaderboard page, there's now 15 users listed in the top chart instead of just that 10. And then we also removed the kind of confusing second column there that was kind of a weird combination of how much funds you had in your account plus how many shares times the current share price. And we just made a list of the top 50 shareholders, which for me is really useful because I try to maintain the badges of who are the 100 plus shareholders, and now I get to see all of them. Shout out to Claire L. Evans, who has 99 shares, one more share, and she joins the 100 club. So jump on that. That's a pretty fun list to look at. I know most of those people. Next is vacation mode. I was going to demo vacation mode by turning it on during this presentation. Having some computer trouble. But vacation mode.
Do it. I'll load the site here and show what happens. When it's enabled.
See. Can you? Oh yeah, you're loading the site, so I'll do it. I don't know if I can talk and do it at the same time. But vacation mode is this idea I had as I tend to go off to Canada for the holidays, and I thought it would be nice to just turn that part of my brain off and not worry about what's going on anymore. So I can now turn the entire market off. So I'm going to say, and I can add a message here. So I'm going to say the market is temporarily closed during the live stream. Trading will return after the stream is over. The market is closed. Save.
So when I refresh, there
There we go.
So
and now
big banner at the top, and the buy and sell form is gone. We did decide that you can still make offers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you can
because those aren't trades.
Offers.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's exciting information happening, you can still queue up trades, but no accepting of them until it's over. So that's that's a fun feature for me. Maybe slightly less fun, but I like the idea of being able to play around with this idea of trading hours and trading days and certain days where we're not going to have trading. Just some of the small things. There was a problem with a 404 header on the votes page that you fixed, and then it came back when you fixed again, and then updated the PHP. Can you explain Laravel to me?
Yeah, so Laravel is like PHP's version of Rails, which is Ruby's version of a framework. So it's basically like how it's a bunch of tools for making a website, and it does a bunch of useful stuff. So it's like, here's how to put go through a list of items and put them into a format them on a page, right? And it's like it's got code for like sending out emails and dealing with databases, and it's so there's Ruby, which is the main site, and PHP is the language that the voting site is written in. Ruby has Rails, which is the framework that is like very common, and PHP has Laravel, which is very similar to Rails in terms of the philosophy of how it works, and that it's like trying to do everything for you, and it has a very strong opinion about how it should work. And yeah, the version of it that we were using is several years old, and was on a version of PHP that is now officially out of date. So that was some good updates to do, and it was not as bad as I was fearing it would be.
And yeah, and you even got to log some bugs and against Laravel, didn't you? Or was
well, documentation anyway. Documentation, so it helped fix their docs, because as I was going from several versions back, updating things along the way, I found some things that could have been clearer in the docs. So
nice. And then we've got this new admin transfer screen. Not something that anyone else will see, but what's interesting about it is I used to do all of this in this kind of, I would do it, I would get kind of this like yellow alert at the top that you see the screen of like, oh, successfully transferred. And then the log of it, if I ever wanted to check that stuff, I'd actually have to go to Aaron and check it. Now I get to see the history of it, and I can also add notes and comments to these transfers, which is super helpful. So
explain what these transfers are.
Well, for example, you're going to bill me for your time developing the site, and we have this method of converting your billing into shares. And so when that happens, I will transfer shares from my account to your account, and I'll add the comment in here, build week 2023. And then that will be listed and shown of where those came from. The other thing I can do, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say.
I was just going to say, if someone makes a mistake and I need to clean something up, like let's say you're doing the buy now and you don't see the funds in your account, maybe it created a second account for you because you used a different email address. I can actually go through here. It used to be I would have to take the shares, pull them into my account, then put them into your other account. Now I can do a direct kind of like shareholder to shareholder transfer of either shares or funds. And what's interesting about this is I feel like it's sort of the precursor to one of the requests. And I don't know how popular this will be, but someone did put in the request to be able to transfer funds and shares between users. So maybe someday there's a public.
So users can do it themselves, you mean?
Someone requested it. I don't know. It doesn't come up very often, but it's interesting to think that like suddenly people are using this to buy each other lunch at the office or something. So.
Speaking of, Chris has a comment. This should make it easier for you to add poker shares.
Yeah, that's true. There's some special events in the poker game that people can win some shares for, and I am behind on updating them. So I'll get a good chance to use this when I update people's special prizes.
And the other thing about this is actually the one part of this that is user visible is if Mike does a transfer from or to you will see that on your profile page. So when you go to your profile page, down at the bottom, there's a new section that will show the list of transfers of shares or dollars in or out, and the little comment appears there too. So you'll be able to see, oh yes, the poker winnings were deposited.
And I actually have a bunch of queued up withdrawals that people have requested that I need to process. And so some of those people, it'll actually note it in their account when they make the withdrawal. So I'll be able to note that as well, which is great. Yeah. Oh, and then I guess I added it here for the Gumroad fees is excluded from deposits.
Yep.
But now those deposits you'll also see in your history in that area that
right.
Aaron was talking about at the bottom of your screen. It's only you only see it on your account when you're logged in, but it will actually show you the deposit and the fees will all be included there for you to look at, so you'll be able to track that stuff easier. Any other major updates that I'm missing before we jump into my new weird idea?
I think that was it. Let me scroll through this really quick.
We kind of updated everything as we went in the Slack channel, the project development Slack channel, and
yeah,
thanks to those people that joined us there and had thoughts and ideas. Yeah.
I guess we can talk a little bit about the ones that were on the list that didn't get done.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The main one was more email notifications.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited about that. But the email notifications would span the main site and the voting site, and that was one of the challenges. And we did make a list of the email notifications that we wanted to include, and it would be things like an offer, somebody just beat out your best offer on, if you had the best offer and someone bid lower or higher than you, maybe you get a notification about that. Or a vote is ending, you get a notification about that. Or someone comments on a vote that you commented on, you may want to know about that. And then we started realizing that it's actually a lot more complicated than just firing off an email for every one of these things, because that would very quickly turn into just a flood of email. So we wanted to be more thoughtful about it and put them into categories of like, this is what you would get this email immediately if as it happens, if there is some action you can take as a result of getting that email. So getting outbid, for example, you can go in and put in a new bid if you want. So that's useful to actually have be immediate. Some of the other ones are actually more like, maybe you only want to get them once a week, and it's just like a summary of things that have happened that are relevant to you. And we did categorize them, made a good list. Didn't get to actually building that part though.
Yeah, there were some other fun ideas we didn't get to, like the fractional shares idea. We were going to just like test out and see if it would break anything. And then my fantasy idea is to have a share casino where you can gamble with your shares a little bit, but those are postponed until the next build week. And maybe some more thought can go into them as well. But I think on things like the updates and emails and alerts, we'll keep collecting those ideas as well as we use the site and figure this new stuff out.
If you have any ideas yourself, add them to the change map of notifications that you would want to get.
Okay, so let's talk about this new policy votes idea. This idea comes from me having done these votes in the past on things like what are my political beliefs? Do I believe in ghosts? Am I allowed to wear a fanny pack? Things that are sort of like policies that the shareholders are imposing on me or that I'm adopting based on shareholder influence. And I thought it seems kind of strange to mark these as like, oh, we decided it at this point and then it's not going to change and it's just going to go forward forever. And then sometimes, those things tend to get revisited, like during the pandemic when I had my pandemic beard and kept threatening or asking if I should shave it. So that ended up with like multiple votes. And so I thought, why not have a vote that essentially doesn't end, but where the fluctuation of people's votes on different things can change over time. So if information changes or the environment around something changes, people can go in and change their votes. The side effect of that is, sorry, go ahead.
The other way that the outcome would change is if someone's number of shares changed. If someone buys more shares, then all of a sudden their opinion is more relevant.
Yep, which definitely would have happened in the cryptocurrency vote. I had people who were very, very anti-crypto, and I took a job in the industry for a while, and they actually sold their shares and left. So that would have actually diminished I would have become more pro-crypto by them leaving potentially, which is interesting. yeah, so a liquidation of someone's shares could radically change my policies, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, so we didn't quite get to that, but I realized because of the editable features I already have on the vote side, I can kind of already kind of cheat it and do it. So I'm playing around, and we'll launch this soon. There's still a couple little tweaks to make to it, but it's basically a vote that lasts for 730 days, and 730 days from now I can up it to another however long I want. And then there's all of the same options are listed, but they're dynamic. You can go in and you can change your vote at any time. And I think there's some really fun things that will come out of that I'm already logging in ChangeMap.
This is another one of those things where you realize that actually the way that it works, almost all the pieces are there, and it's enough there that you can just sort of fudge it. Because the only thing that I was gonna have to change really was basically not showing the countdown.
Right.
Because right now the way it does work is during a vote, even when the vote is scheduled to end, the options will update. So if you change your vote or someone new comes in, all the little bars will change their weights based on the votes. So now there's just, if you just keep bumping the expiration date out and keep editing it to be in the future, it's effectively never ending.
Yeah.
So
and I think it gives an opportunity to sort of test out, like, does this work? How does it work?
Mm-hmm.
What changes when we go to implement what we need? Like, I thought, obviously we don't need the time there, but then it would also maybe make sense to show the current leading vote, because we show the winner at the end of a regular vote. But in this case, there's never a winner, so it might make sense to show the leading vote at any one time.
Because there's only, like, it'll show you the progress bars for all the options, but there's no like indicator other than just looking for the biggest progress bar.
Exactly. Yep. And then so there's some fun things that will come from this about making it a little bit more elegant when we actually get to it. And I think that's it. I think that was the full list of everything that we built.
It was pretty good.
It was 4 days, long weekend. It's pretty impressive.
4 days,
yeah. I feel like we got more done in that tighter period of time than when we had like a longer time in previously. So
I agree, and also I think I was like mentally preparing for the PHP upgrade to be like a huge time suck and require like most of a day, and it ended up not being nearly as bad as I thought, and then kind of just got on a roll, and like all these things just kept falling out of like, oh well, we're already this close on this thing, and what if we can just do this little bit here and get this new feature. So
I know
I was very happy.
It was the first time that scope creep was coming from you instead of me as we were working on it. Because like you kept being like, oh, if I just add this one more thing, or oh look, I can add notes to this. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great, but that was not on our list of accepted changes. Yeah. So it's nice to see those little tweaks that make everything just run a little bit smoother. So that's it. That's the end of demo day. And like I said, the next thing will be I think we have to sync the new policy votes with the existing user base, just in that way. Before
which
I
is
share that.
Another item for the backlog. I'll put it into ChangeMap, but it's not good the way it works right now. We need to streamline it a little bit. So
hopefully not too many more sections coming, but that does seem like something that should be automated with sections. And then so I think the next thing will be, probably, I don't know, in the next either couple days or week or so, we'll launch policy votes, and then I'll start rolling those out. One of the things we can't do right now, and this would be one of the essential changes when we go to work on this, is I can't edit the options in a vote. Like once I set the options, they're locked in and they're not editable on a live vote, which kind of makes sense because you don't want to change things in the middle of a regular vote. And I thought, well, in this case, for the beta, for kind of like using the existing tech, it would have to be like, delete and re-add and change the options, or just try to be complete and see what happens.
It's interesting. Well, maybe, oh gosh, I totally forgot about that. So I'm pretty sure that that limit is there because I didn't want to think through the implications of what would happen if the votes were editable, if that makes sense. So it was
Yep.
like a shortcut to getting just the site built in the first
Yep.
place.
Yep.
Um, I'm trying to think what would happen, because basically, like, if you add a new option, nobody will be voting for it, right? So it'll have 0 votes, but none of the other weights would change because of the way that it counts votes, right?
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't change
So I think it might
until
actually
they
be
were.
fine.
Yeah.
If you delete something that people have voted on, um, I think it might just work.
Because
So
we allow people to vote for multiple things now, it's okay
yeah,
to delete their votes. Yeah. That's
it
interesting.
might be fine. It might not actually be a problem. So maybe I can just remove the
Yeah.
limitation that prevents you from editing.
Oh, right. Because that's actually something that you can just removing a limitation is easier than adding a feature.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting.
maybe we'll do a mini build week in a couple of months for
Yeah.
see how many little tweaks we can make to improve things again.
Yeah. Well,
Build
what's nice
day.
is we'll get build day. We'll have enough like notes and ideas after trying this stuff out for a while as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Cool.
man. Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like, I don't know. I'm excited to roll these things out and start like, sharing like, oh, people can like buy in different ways and see if there's more trading should happen, especially if more people start using dollar cost averaging. There's going to be these automated trades that are just like happening every month throughout the month. And that's just going to like up
Yep.
the number. So it's like that should then motivate more people to post more offers as well. And so we'll just see a little bit, hopefully a little increase in trading volume, bring people back to the site with the alerts and just making it easier overall.
Yep.
Thanks to Austin, especially, who hung out with us most of the weekend, and added some stuff to the change map and gave us some thoughts. I'm still using the weird Bitcoin casino that he explained as a potential use case for our own casino. And Bo and Chris and other people that stopped by. And yeah, that's it. We'll keep going.
All right. See you again next build week.